Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the actual mathematical blueprint to proving that, yes, everyday people really can hit $1 million net worth. We're going to break down the exact numbers, the specific steps, and those crucial daily habits that literally transform a modest income into serious wealth over time. So, let's jump right in.
I want to start by challenging a really stubborn myth. You know, the one that reaching $1 million is just a pipe dream reserved for lottery winners, trust fund babies, or hotshot tech founders. Look, unless you come from a wealthy family, you aren't going to get rich by doing absolutely nothing, right? But with a little discipline, a clear plan, and consistent habits, making your first million isn't some wild fantasy. It's really just math. To really grasp the hurdle we're facing, we need to look at a pretty eye-opening number from August 2025, 4.6%. That is the average American savings rate, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Now, here's the kind of terrifying reality about that 4.6%. Financial planners overwhelmingly recommend a savings rate of at least 15% just to secure a comfortable retirement, let alone hit millionaire status. So yeah, we're basically falling behind before we even step up to the starting line.
All right, step one, the magic of compounding. Let's dive straight into the solution with the very first step in our blueprint, which is harnessing the absolute magic of time. You just cannot build wealth without time on your side, which brings us to the core engine of this entire strategy. Think of compounding as the ultimate secret weapon of the wealthy. Put simply, it's earning interest on your interests by reinvesting it over time. You let your money continuously make more money for you. You get a return on your initial investment, and then, here's the kicker, you earn interest on that interest. It creates this incredible snowball effect. It starts off a bit slow, but eventually it builds overwhelming momentum. So just how powerful is this snowball effect? Well, check this out. If you start at age 20 and invest just $500 a month into an IRA at an assumed 7% return, your actual out-of-pocket contributions over 40 years total $240,000. But because of compound interest, that $240,000 completely explodes into over $1.32 million by age 57. You literally become a millionaire just by automating a $500 monthly deposit. Mind-blowing, right? Moving on to step 2, cutting spending. Now, to actually invest that $500 a month, you've got to find the cash first, which means getting a bit ruthless with your budget and completely avoiding high-interest debt. Every single dollar you spend on something you don't actually need is a dollar stolen straight from your future millionaire self. I want you to ask yourself honestly, right now, can you find just $25 in your weekly budget to cut? Seriously. Is it skipping a couple of those premium lattes? Or maybe finally canceling that streaming service you honestly haven't watched since 2021? Or just dodging one random impulse buy online? I know, it feels like a total drop in the bucket, but wait until you see what happens when we apply our compounding secret weapon to it. Because if you can find that cash, that tiny $25 weekly sacrifice, invested over 40 years at a 7% return, magically turns into over $250,000. Over $285,000 to be precise. That is the actual true cost of those minor weekly splurges. When you start looking at your spending through the lens of lost future wealth, it completely changes how you view your budget. It's a real game changer. Okay, let's tackle steps 3 and 4, save 15% and boost earnings. These steps are all about hitting that ambitious 15% savings rate by actually expanding the amount of money you bring home. You know, you can only cut your budget so much. Eventually, to speed up your path to $1 million, you have to increase the size of the shovel you're using to dig. There are a few ways to do this: asking for a raise, working extra hours, picking up a second job, getting more training, or even switching career paths entirely. The data heavily emphasizes that extra training really pays off the most long-term. For instance, a licensed practical nurse making a median income of about $62,340 in 2024 could jump to over $93,600 simply by getting the 2-year associate degree to become a registered nurse. That extra $30,000 a year gives you immense firepower to max out your savings rate. But here is an absolutely crucial psychological shift, and this is step 5, avoid lifestyle inflation. Let savings, not spending, drive your growth. When you finally get that raise or finish that degree, you have got to resist lifestyle inflation. Do not just immediately upgrade your car or move into a bigger apartment or book some lavish vacation just because you suddenly have the cash. That just traps you in the exact same cycle. Instead, let your savings rate inflate, not your lifestyle. The trick? Hide that extra money from yourself before you even have a chance to spend it. Next up, navigating your retirement accounts. Now that we've got our steps down for finding and saving the money, we actually need to know where to put it.
We want to maximize growth and minimize taxes, right? So you essentially have two main paths here: traditional accounts and Roth accounts. And understanding this comparison is vital. You basically have to decide, do you want your tax break today using a traditional account where you deduct your contributions now but pay taxes on withdrawals in retirement? Or do you want it later, using a Roth account where you use after-tax money now but all that massive compounded growth comes out completely tax-free down the road?
For the 2025 tax year, these are your maximum contribution limits. You've got $23,500 for a 401k or 403b, $7,000 for IRAs, and if you happen to have a small business, a SEP IRA lets you stash up to $70,000. Plus, there are catch-up contributions if you're 50 or older. Maxing these out is the ultimate goal. And hey, if your employer offers a 401k match, you take it. That is literally free money. If they match 6% and your goal is 15%, you only need to come up with 9% yourself. The government is heavily incentivizing us to build these nest eggs, so definitely take advantage of it.
All right, your $1 million timeline, Joe's case study. Let's get real for a second. Does this math actually work for a normal person who doesn't have some massive six-figure tech salary? Let's take a look at a concrete example. Let's look at Joe.
Joe is 33, single, and makes a fairly modest salary of $50,000 a year. His strategy: he simply commits to getting his full 5% employer match in his 401k, so he puts in $2,500 and his company gives him another $2,500. On top of that, he saves $4,000 a year into a Roth IRA. We're assuming a pretty standard 7% return over 34 years until he retires at age 67. And just to keep the math super clean, we aren't even factoring in the raises he'll probably get over his career.
Now, check out these incredible results. By the time he hits age 67, Joe's 401k is sitting at over $721,000. His Roth IRA? That's at over $577,000. So without ever pulling in a huge salary, Joe's consistent, frankly kind of boring investments compound into a total net worth of nearly $1.3 million. Welcome to the Millionaire Club, Joe. It just proves that regular, steady savings absolutely works.
But listen closely, because this entire plan relies on a ticking clock. If Joe had started investing that exact same $9,000 a year at age 25, he'd be sitting on $2.3 million. But look at the staggering drop-off if you delay. Waiting to start until age 40, that drops the final value to just $745,000. Think about that. Waiting just 15 years literally cost you over $1.5 million in lost growth. Like we said earlier, time really is your greatest asset.
Step 6. Consider a financial advisor. Look, navigating all of this, the math, the tax accounts, keeping up the investing discipline, it can definitely be stressful. Actually, a 2025 survey showed that only 24% of Americans feel very confident about living comfortably in retirement. Because of that, our final step is to swallow your pride and maybe work with a qualified financial advisor. Unless you genuinely love researching equities and asset allocations, hiring an expert to build your customized plan is hands down one of the best investments you can make to stay on track. So we've laid out the clear mathematical blueprint in this explainer. You know you need to start early, cut the fluff out of your budget, boost your income, and really utilize those tax-advantaged accounts. It's not magic, it's just math. The path is right there in front of you, so the only question left for you to answer today is, what are you going to do with your first million?